Hi guys, welcome to our first lesson on real-world equations. We have discussed this, introduced a little in class. So this is the first video that you are going to get to view from home. And then when you're back in class next week, we will go over different problems and ways to solve equations. So let's just kind of introduce it again to make everybody familiar. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to be doing some pretty amazing things. So what if I told you that within 2 to 3 short weeks, I could have you solving problems that look like this? It's true. I can do that. And a word that a lot of you are scared of, and some of you have never even heard of, called algebra. You guys can be doing algebra in just really by the end of one day. So let's go ahead and get started with our materials. The first thing that we're going to use, and this is just for our hands-on, we can use these in class sometimes, but this is going to kind of give you a visual of the tool that we have online that you can use through Google Slides. But this is our board. This is meant to be a scale. This is always equal. So when we do an equation, our goal is to have both sides equal. Okay, the next thing that we're going to use is what we call, we're going to use these pieces here, and they're green triangles. And what we've known those to be, is those would be our unknowns. Another word that we've talked about, especially with 5th grade and 4th grade, we also can call those variables. So what we want to do with lessons, our real-world equations, is we're going to be able to take things and be able to solve the problems by using hands-on until we're able to do it just mentally in our head. The next thing that we're going to use is just a regular 6-sided dice. These are going to be used to make up the numbers on the sides. So we'll have our variables or unknowns in our dice in order to create our equations and solve them. And let's just get started with some very simple equations. So I'm going to start out with a variable or an unknown. And then I'm going to place a 6 here. So we have an unknown, but we know that both sides have to be equal. So this one's pretty easy to know that if you have a 6 on this side, then your variable has to equal 6 because this scale must stay balanced. Okay, let's put 2 unknowns or 2 variables and leave our 6. Okay, well we know that we've got 2. Our unknowns and variables, it's the same, so both numbers have to be the same. So you ask yourself, you can go through the numbers, you can say, is it 1? Would 1 plus 1 is 2, does that equal 6? No. Then 2 plus 2 equals 4, does that equal 6? No. 3 plus 3 equals 6. So 6, 2 pawns would equal the 6. That would make our equation correct and balanced. Okay, so we're going to do something just a little bit more difficult this time. And I'm going to take and put a 3 here. And I'm going to add another unknown or another variable. So we have 3 pawns on this side, and then we have the number 9 on this side, because 6 plus 3 equals 9. So what could our variables equal? We could start with 1, which would be kind of crazy for us to do because 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. Just one of our numbers equals 3, so we know that can't be it. We could try 2. 2, 4, 6, 6, 7, 8, 9. Does not equal. Let's try 3. 3, 6, 9 equals 6 plus 3 is 9. So each of our unknowns or our variables would equal 3 in this equation. Now there's another thing when we start using variables on both sides. It seems like when we were practicing earlier last week that people got a little bit confused with what the pawns were on both sides. So even though we have pawns on the left and right side of this equation, these numbers, these unknowns, have to still be the same value because they are the same green triangles. Okay, so on this side we have a 5 and an unknown, and then on this side we have 2 unknowns. So we could start checking with 1. Like I said, that would be a little crazy, so we would have 1 plus 1 is 2. 5 plus 1 is 6. 2 does not equal 6. 2 plus 2 is 4. 5 plus 2 is 7. 4 does not equal 6. 3 plus 3 is 6. 5 plus 3 is 8. That does not equal. 4 plus 4 is 8. 5 plus 4 is 9. Does not equal, but we are getting closer. So let's try 5 plus 5 is 10. 5 plus 5 is 10. So in this problem, our variable, or our unknown, would be 5. Okay, and this time we're going to get a little bit harder to where we're putting our variables and our numbers on both sides. So let's start out with 2 variables, or unknowns, on this side. And then let's do an 8 and a variable on this side. So this time not only do we have variables and numbers, we have them on both sides of our balance scale. So one thing I do want to remind you of, because we had this issue a little bit last week, is remember every time you change your equation, every time you change your problem, the value of your variables or your unknowns will change. So whatever your variable was in the last problem will not necessarily be the same number it is in this problem. So let's see if we can guess and check and find out what would make this equation equal. So we can start out with 1. Again, we know we already have 8 on this side, and this only has 2, but we'll go ahead and check it. So we have 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 2 is 4. And then we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 does not equal 4. Let's try 2. 2, 4, 6. Is that equal to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? No, 6 does not equal 10. Now we'll try 3. 3, 6, 7, 8. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 8 does not equal 11. And this time we'll try 4. 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 2 is 10. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 does not equal 10. So we can try 5, 5, 10, 11, 12, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Does not equal. So we can try 6. 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 2 is 14. 5 plus 3 is 8, plus 6 is 14. So in this equation, our variable will equal 6, and it will make both sides of the scale equal. So now that we have the basics of finding out what the variable is in different equations, you may be asking yourself, well, how would I write that answer? Because you will be required to write the answer to the problems as you solve them. So for this example, this is how you would write your answer. So we do know that x is 6. We did that by our guess and check and found out that x equaled 6. So if x equals 6, the equation would be 14 equals 14. You guys can't stop once you find out what the variable is, because you've got to plug that number back in to determine what the equation equals. So now that we know how to plug in our variables to get our equations, both sides of our equation equal, we're going to move on to our online manipulative tool that looks a whole lot like our board. But this will be something that you can complete, you can use while online and complete problems, and then you'll be submitting the answers through a Google form. So let's jump over and look at our online manipulative tool. So here we are. Like I said, this looks a whole lot like the board that we were using earlier to go over different problems. So this will be assigned to you through Google Classroom. This will be lesson 1. And this will be our manipulation tool. You will see that you have a variable sign here, and you have all different dice here. You can use an unlimited amount of variables. So in order to do that, you're going to click on your variable, and you can move it down to the scale. You can click on one of the die and move it down to the scale. So depending on what your problem may be, you can set up as many variables as you need to go on either side to set up your equation. So now I've actually placed an equation on our chart that's 3x equals 12 plus x. So we would want to use our manipulation tool to set up this problem and solve it to find x and then the value of both sides of our scale. So our first part of our equation says 3x. So that means that we would have 3 variables on this side of our equation. And then you see our equal sign, which is our equal sign to show balance. And then we've got to put 12. So I'm going to put a 6 and another 6. And then we have a plus and another variable. So we're going to have to take and put a variable on this side as well. So using the same system that we've used before, we could use guess and check. I'm not going to start with 1 because we know that if we do 1, 2, 3, that's not even going to be worth but half of one of our dice. So let's start out doing 3s. So 3, 6, 9. 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 3 is 15. Let's do 4. 4, 8, 12. 6 plus 6 plus 4 is 16. Let's try 5. 5, 10, 15. 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 5 is 17. Let's try 6. 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 6 more is 18. And then we have 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 18. So if I were to write this problem out, my answer would be x equals 6. But then below that, I would want to write the equal parts of my equation. So I would say 18 equals 18 in this equation. So that would be our answer. Now guys, since we went over both of how to work out the problems and how to use the manipulative tool, I want you to go on to Google Classroom to Lesson 1. You will find Lesson 1 and the manipulative tool under our quick links. You also will have five equations that will be sent to you through Google Forms, and I want you to use your tool to figure out those problems and submit your answers. When you're back in class next week, we'll go over each of the equations and see how well we did. Thanks. Have fun.